Shalom, everyone. Welcome to this week's Living Torah. And, somebody may be asking, wait a minute, Mike, you're in Philippians. Why do you call this Living Torah? 16 years ago, almost, 2019, 16 years ago, I think this September will be the anniversary of that. I began teaching this series, and I called it Living Torah. And so I went through a number of Torah cycles back in those days. That I went to the book of Matthew and gone to various places. I think that, Matthew, Timothy, Titus, the book of John, where else was I? The book of Yaakov or James. Those are all on my Vimeo site. And I just continue this. Why? Because it's not specifically about living Torah. It's about the living Torah, who is the presentation of Yud-He-Vav-He on this earth. So Yeshua came as the living Word, the living Torah, to teach us how to live His Torah. And in living His Torah, according to Psalm 40 verse 7, "Behold, I am coming, in the scroll of the book is written of me," we will find Him as we are following Him in Him. Hope that makes a little bit of sense to you, but it's kind of as simple as that. So though we may be in Philippians, Genesis, or the end of Revelation, everything that we see should be about Him. It should be about learning who He is, which in turn we learn who He is. If Yeshua is the visible manifestation, the visible presentation of Yud-He-Vav-He upon this earth, then as He is one, as He does not change from everlasting to everlasting, He is Elohim, then as we follow Him, we are following the unrevealed, the invisible Elohim, the creator of the universe. I know that just, going to a lot of different places there, and it doesn't take, when you start to even consider the Creator, and people get all tied up these days in titles and names and pronunciations. I really enjoy the title that He has of the Creator, because it kind of encompasses everything that I can see in the earth. I do not, as I look out my window, I normally do not use the word nature, because for most people, they then have the connotation of Mother Nature, Mother Earth and Mother Nature, and then you get the Parquet commercial or something like that, or I don't think it's Parquet, but it was one of those butter commercials, those fake butter commercials. I don't look at this as nature. I look at creation. So no matter what I'm looking at, I'm seeing a revelation of the Creator. And in seeing that revelation, I'm seeing the manifestation, the presentation that He revealed Himself to us through the creation and through a being in which He created in order to inhabit. I'm probably really messing that one up. Let me go to something that's a little bit easier. This weekend I will be in Lebanon. No, not Lebanon in the Middle East, but Lebanon, Tennessee, outside of Nashville. I'll be going up actually on Thursday. They've invited me to do some recording at Hebrew Roots Network, HRN. We've been working on that for many years, and it's finally, I think, coming together. Hoping that they're going to be able to find my good side, because I've always had the impression that I look a lot better on radio than I do on television, but that's another subject. So I'll be taping 6 messages on Friday that I'll be teaching. The information's on the website, on my website. So I'll be teaching on Shabbat, and then staying over and doing a little bit more teaching Shabbat night, coming home. And off to the races we go. Got some a couple busy weeks coming up for me and Kathy. Actually, our son, daughter-in-law, and one of our grandsons is coming in from South Korea. They'll be spending a couple of weeks with us. So maybe I'll get Jackson on the camera. It really makes you feel bad when a when a 2-year-old actually can speak 2 languages and you can't. So, all right, let's get into Philippians chapter 2. We left off last week in verse 3, and it says this: do nothing out of rivalry and vanity. Now, let's first of all take a word out of here, and I didn't go to Strong's to figure out what this word means in Greek. All I did was I just kind of accepted the fact that because I went to elementary school, they taught me what this word means. And so I'm just going to run with it exactly as it is in the translation here. And the word is nothing. Okay, what does the word nothing mean? It's not complicated. It means nothing. It means do absolutely nothing out of rivalry or vanity, but in humility regard each other as better than yourselves. This word humility, I've talked about this on this program. Barry and I have talked about it. I got a quote from someone that humility is not thinking lowly of yourself, but humility is not thinking of yourself. But even in that, do you know how easy it is for us to get things mixed up in our minds, that it's kind of like the proverbial, the only time that mankind walks down the center of the road is when we're going from one ditch to the other. And so even this thing of humility and trying to walk down the center line of something called humility is something that we can kind of get from one ditch to the other. One of those ditches is that we become proud of our humility, and therefore lose your humility because now you're proud of it. The other side is that humility becomes something of like, you know, we think of Mr. Rogers with his cardigan sweater, or Mr. Milquetoast, or someone that's just sitting in the corner, the wallflower at the prom, or something like that. A person that has no self-image at all, or what self-image that they do have is absolutely negative, and you really don't want to be around them at all to begin with, because they have confused humility with weakness. Doing nothing out of rivalry or vanity, but in humility, regarding others as better than ourselves, is not that I look at myself as the worm such as I, or some, piece of garbage along the side of the road, or something that needs to be thrown out, or something the cat drug out. That's not humility. Humility, I believe, the best definition that I know of is humility is control. I can't say it, but I want to do it. Is controlled strength, that we understand who we are. So the road to humility is this: first of all, having the right attitude regarding who I am. If I do not understand that the Creator has placed me here, that in the scheme of things, some 61, almost, this will be close to 61 years now. I'll almost put myself older than I am. So, around 61 years ago, and I'll keep this very family-oriented, there was a seed, one out of millions of seed, that was trying to chase down an egg so that it could fertilize that egg. The one seed that would become me won. That means that before I was born, I was a winner. Think about that. Before you were born, before you were even, at the moment of conception, you became a winner. You were now brought forth to be in the image and likeness of the Almighty. You were brought forth out of all of those other seeds that were vying for the egg. You were the winner. That in itself should cause you to look in your mirror a little different. Now, let's look at the other side of it. Why were you the one that won? Because out of all of those millions of seed that were racing for the egg, I believe, and maybe somebody can try to contradict me, but you're not going to get me to change what I believe here on this one, is that I have come to the realization, I am coming to a further realization that it was the Creator Himself who looked down upon the event and millions of seed swimming toward an egg and chose that I would win. Think about that. The Creator of the universe chose that you would win. Gave you the strength to win that first battle. That should change the way we live. See, humility is understanding that I was chosen, that I was breathed into, that I am a winner, that I was a winner at the moment of conception and continue to be a winner today. But that does not make me better than another winner. Let me say that again. The fact that I am a winner does not make me better than another winner. In fact, true humility, true understanding of the process should mean that I, as a winner, place myself in a position of servanthood to other winners so that they can come to the realization that they are winners. Because most people don't understand they're winners. Most people, the vast majority of people upon this earth today, do not believe that they are winners. They believe that they are here by chance. That somewhere along the way of the great-great-grandfather was a slime pond, and that a tadpole came out of that slime pond by chance. Wind began to blow over the warts, or that tadpole became a frog somehow, and as wind began to blow over the warts of the frog, they became ears, and that frog began to hop around, eventually became a monkey, and here you are, a few generations down road, and we are here. How ridiculous. As one evangelist years ago said, that it takes much more faith to believe that wind blowing over the back of a wart produces an ear than it does to believe that in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth, and that He created the heavens and the earth for me. He did not create it for me to dominate. Now, I'll get to that in just a moment. Just to give you an idea, probably not going to get too far in my notes today. So, it says, do nothing out of rivalry or vanity, but in humility regard each other as better than yourselves. Look out for each other's interests and not just for your own. Remember, we are talking about the words do nothing that is for your interests, but always for another person's interest. High and lofty goal. I got it. High and lofty goal that most of us are going to fail at pretty much. Well, I won't say most of the time. Maybe I should. It's a high and lofty goal that we're probably going to fail out At least occasionally. Okay, I'll give us a little benefit of the doubt there. At least occasionally we're going to fail at that one. Does that mean that we quit trying? No. That means we keep moving forward. We keep in each place that we try to put these verses into our lives, we continue to learn about the process. And so the end result of the process is that I become better at this than when I began. Again, he does not call us to be perfect. Thank him. Baruch HaShem. Thank God that he does not call us to be perfect. He calls us to be wholehearted. So even in my desire to do nothing out of rivalry and self and vanity, but regard others better than myself, he does not require me to do that perfect, because I'm not going to get there, at least not in my present state. It's going to take a few more years of practice at this for me to get there, maybe a lot of years. But the end result should be better than the first result. That's life. Anything that we do in life, we should become better at as we continue to do it. That goes to this verse also. So this is about look out for each other's interests and not just your own. I said we were not called to dominate. That's not exactly true. For if we go back to Bereshit, Genesis 1:26, and it says, then Elohim said, let us make humankind in our image. We're going to be talking about that this week and next week. In the likeness of ourselves, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the animals, and all over the earth, and over every other crawling creature that crawls on the earth. So Elohim created humankind in his own image. In the image of Elohim he created them. Male and female he created them. Elohim blessed them. Elohim said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every living creature that crawls on the earth. It goes on from there. We, as humans, we are created to take dominion. We are created to rule upon this earth. We are not created, get this, we are not created to take dominion over another person. We are called to take dominion over this earth. Man lost the ability in the fall to take dominion over the earth. Now, consider this, and I've taught around this. I'm just kind of coming back to it this week, and then we're going to move on. Consider this, that Adam and Eve, were created to have dominion over the earth, over the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, over the plants, over everything of creation. Adam and Eve were created to take dominion over. But when Adam and Eve fell, when they disobeyed, they lost that dominion. Since that time, fallen man has attempted, and done a pretty good job of it many times, has attempted to not take dominion over the earth, but to take dominion over each other. You and I are not called to take dominion over each other. We are called to take dominion over the earth. That's a piece of ground. Going back to Brad Scott. It's about a house. It's about a family. It's about a garden. Okay, when I plant a garden, what am I doing? I am taking dominion over a piece of ground. When I go out, as we have to do because we have a garden that needs some work, and hopefully in next month or so we'll get out there and start on this. But we have a piece of ground that has been pretty unruly. And it has produced, but it has not produced where we would like it to produce. So we're going to go out and we're going to do some things with mulch and various things that we're going to, the Genesis method of growing a garden, we're going to do that. And in the midst of that, what are we doing? We're taking dominion, which means that when I take dominion over that piece of ground, it's going to bear fruit. It's going to come forth. And I am now fulfilling the reason I was placed upon this earth, and that is to bring forth fruit that will produce seed that will produce fruit. That is, be fruitful and multiply. So, fallen man has been trying to take dominion over man. Consider this, that the first man that he's trying to take dominion over is himself. In the fall, what did we do? In the fall, Adam and Eve lost dominion over the earth. Guess what their bodies were made of? Yeah, our body consists of dirt. We are nothing more than dirt and water. You take dirt and water, put it together at just the right place, and you're going to get a man or a woman. That's what comes forth. But that fallen man, that fallen dirt man, because of the fall, has lost dominion over himself. And so because he cannot get dominion over himself, he tries to get dominion over others. Go back to this. A person that cannot get control over themselves will seek to control others. A person that has a problem, a sin that involves, let's say, again, to try to keep this as the family show that it is, but illicit activities. Okay, all you adults know what I'm talking about. Okay, a person that cannot control their own body and their own illicit activities will seek to control another person. That's called trafficking. The list could go on and on. We see politics. People that cannot control themselves seek to have power over another. Try to have dominion over another person. The only way that this breaks, the only thing that can break this, is by an infilling of the one who came to restore dominion to mankind over the earth. I could go into a lot here of one of the purposes of Yeshua, that Yeshua had to come in the form of a human to take back the dominion to give to humans. So only a human that is born again, that has received the Spirit of the one who raised that dirt man, Yeshua, that dirt man who was Elohim from the dead, that same Spirit can indwell us to restore dominion in our lives over the earth and not over people. We are to take dominion over the earth, and we are to serve people. Fallen man will try to take dominion over people and be a servant to the earth. This is part of this global warming, climate change, Mother Earth movement, beginning to worship the creation instead of the Creator. And in worshiping the creation, they are becoming subservient to the creation, instead of having dominion over creation. So we are to consider others better than ourselves, look out for others, take dominion over creation, and serve other humans. Now, that's last week's. Okay, I'll go into this week's notes. Okay, I'm not going to get through them, but I'm going to go on to them. We go into chapter 2, verse 5. Let your attitude toward one another be governed by your union by being in union with Messiah Yeshua. These verses from chapter 2, verses 6 through 11, these are not, though they're not a doctrinal statement. What do I mean? These are not verses for us to just, and this goes back to the dominion, that people want to use these verses to come up with a doctrinal statement. Why? Because when I can come up, excuse me, when I can find a doctrinal statement out of scriptures, I can now use that doctrinal statement in order to control others, to take dominion over other people. That's called denominations. That's called religion. That's called non-denominations. Many non-denominations are just as not denominational as denominations are. They just don't want to tag on anything. But the idea, in the end, is about controlling people. So if I have a doctrinal statement, then I can force you or coerce you, maybe would be the better statement. I can coerce you into agreeing with my doctrinal statement in order to seek dominion over you. This is not to be placed here as a doctrinal statement. It is placed here for us as a statement for our lives, so that we would learn from the presentation of Yud-He-Vav-He called Yeshua. Sorry if I'm looking out the window. I have two deer walking by, and the hunter in me just says, if a deer's walking by outside the window, yeah, that's where I live. Kind of fun. That's why I live in the woods, because that way you don't see things that walk by in the city. Never seen a deer walk by in their jammies. They have proper clothing on, called fur. Okay, getting back to this. So, that's why I was looking out the window. This is to be a statement for our life. Though he was in the form, and I'm going to have to do this in 2 weeks, though he was in the form of Elohim, he did not regard equality with Elohim something to be possessed by force. Yeshua, created in the form, in the image, and yes, I believe that he is Yud-He-Vav-He. He was in the form and image and was Yud-He-Vav-He, but he did not regard that equality something that he had to flaunt in front of other people. In fact, it says, on the contrary, he emptied himself, and that he took the form of a servant by becoming like human beings are. This in itself, there's the deer again, squirrel, I know, it's bad. I don't do that for squirrels, I do that for deer, okay? He emptied himself, got the dog coming in 1 week, deer and out the window, you know, whatever. Okay. He emptied himself, taking the form of a servant by becoming like human beings are. And this in itself is what separates us. You've heard me teach on this in the past. This is what separates this, that we are following, this so-called quote-unquote religion that we have, that we are following today, from every other religion on the planet, And it is this, that the one that we say is Elohim came to us. He did not give us a statement of how to get to him. He said, I am coming to you. It is the only religion in which its leader did not just come and say, okay, you need to do this, but he said, here, you follow me. If you will follow me, I will get you to your destination. You ever stopped before GPS? Okay, remember those days? Remember when we didn't have a GPS on our phone and a navigation system in our car and all those things? Remember when we had to do it by maps? Now, years ago, I was in Belgium. A friend of mine was not really very good at directions. In fact, she was terrible. And it was a nightmare. It was, as I'm thinking about it, it was a nightmare. Getting from one place to another. And though we had printed directions in that day, we didn't have a GPS yet. We had a printed map. I couldn't understand the language on the map. And I'm actually driving and she's giving me directions. And we'd get lost and she'd stop and she'd go up and talk to somebody and she'd say, okay, they told us to go down here and over there and over there. Which eventually would mean that we would go down there, over there, and over there and have to stop and talk to somebody else. The greatest thing is when you got somewhere and a person said, you stopped somebody in a car next to you and they said, that's where I'm going, follow me. And you got to your destination. If you're following some kind of a God that is only telling you directions and hasn't been there to begin with, then how do you know you're going to get there? One of the reasons that following the scripture that I have in front of me is so amazing is this, that the one who wrote it has already walked the journey and is telling me to follow him, not just pointing directions. That means that my chances of getting to the destination go way up. All right, he emptied himself. The key to a life of humility is this, that though you know who you are, and that is maybe the bigger issue here, and we're going to talk about that more next week. Knowing who you are. The vast majority of people that I run into, that I talk to, that I encounter, have no clue who they are. I'm going to be teaching, God willing, next month. Actually, this will be March, I think. I was planning on doing some different things, and that's gotten just thrown out. So February's message is out of Psalm 1, like a tree planted by the rivers. That'll be coming up on our website soon, February 1st. Be followed with another message, I think. And one of the questions we're going to ask is, who am I? If you're asked, who are you? Most people cannot answer that question. Until you can answer that question, you cannot answer any other question in life. Nothing is available to you without being able to, nothing of value is available to you without being able to answer that question. When I can answer the question of who am I can now answer begin to answer the rest of the questions of life. Yeshua never one moment of his life do I believe that he doubted who he was. That he knew at some point, I don't know how it was revealed to him, but he knew that he was made in the image of and was the express visible image of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh upon this earth. But he emptied himself of that, what's the word here that I'm looking for? He did not see it. Let me go back to it. Humility said he did not see a reason to have to prove himself. See, when you know who you are, you no longer have to prove yourself. That is why when the religious leaders of the day, many of them false religious leaders of the day, when they came to him with questions, he was many times silent. He did not get into arguments with them. He did not confront them. Why? When I know who I am, I do not have to prove who I am to you or to anyone else. When I know who I am, then my life is secure. Excuse me. My life is secure in him. But when I do not know who I am, then I am open to becoming anyone. Think about it. Reuben, going back to Bereshit, to Genesis, Reuben, the firstborn, he compromised. He compromised with Joseph. He compromised with his father's concubine. And the words state, you are as unstable as water. Water, if I take this, what's left of my coffee, and I pour it out on my desk, which I'm not going to, it is not going to continue to have the shape of the cup. What shape is it going to have? It's going to have no shape. It's going to just fall all over the place. Why? Because its image is based upon the circumstances in which it is in. Think about that. Its image is based upon its circumstances. The coffee, the water with the coffee, Pero actually, the image that it holds right here is based upon the circumstances that it is in the Tigger cup. But if I were to take this cup and I were to pour it into a different cup, it would take on the image of that other cup. If I pour it on the desk, it loses its image at all. Why? Because it doesn't know what it is. It doesn't have an image. When I understand who I am in Him, then I have an image. And when I'm connected to that, you can't talk me out of who I am. But if I don't know who I am, then I will be a different person everywhere I am. I will be different. No matter where I am, I will be a different person. If I don't know who I am, I will be a different person around my wife than I am in private. I will be different around you than I will be around my wife. That's called a hypocrite. We state the words at 9 and 3, I do. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. He is one. That is not a doctrinal statement. Though it is, again. But it is not a doctrinal statement for us to argue over the Godhead and all of those things. It is a statement that I take great comfort in, that He is one. When he introduced Himself to Moses, I am that I am. Which is saying, Moses, whether you see me at a burning bush, a Mount of Transfiguration, I am the same. I am one. I do not change. He is not a man that he should lie. He does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and we should take great comfort in that. in that what he is today is what he will be tomorrow. What he is today is what he was yesterday. When I woke up, Elohim did not change. He is the same today, and when I wake up tomorrow, he will be the same tomorrow. That, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we should take great comfort in. That he is the same no matter what. Humans, on the other hand, have a problem with that. Why? Because we're unstable as water. But when we understand who we are in him, that should be stability. How do we find the stability in him? I want to take you to Psalm 37. Wow, really not making it through my notes, but who cares? If you do, I'm sorry, but you don't know what my notes are anyway, so it really wouldn't matter. Psalm 37, verse 4, verse 3. Trust in Yud-He-Vav-He and do good. Settle in the land and feed on faithfulness. Then you will delight yourself in HaShem, Yud-He-Vav-He, Adonai. You will delight yourself in him, and he will give you your heart's desires. Commit your way to HaShem, trust in him, and he will act. It goes on from there. Psalm 37. Read the rest of it yourself. Commit yourself to him. Delight yourself in him, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I run into people that I ask, so what are your heart's desires? What is it in life that you want? What are your visions? What are your goals? Christianity, this is not a statement against Christianity because I'm going to pick on Messianics also. Christianity has done a great disservice in not understanding Psalm 115 that says that the earth is made for mankind. The heavens belong to HaShem, to God. But when you die, you're going to go to heaven. The earth is bad. This is the Gnostics. The earth is bad. It's going to go away. We're going to all go, I'll fly away, oh glory. Got a mansion over a hillside. It's not a hillside on the earth. It's a hillside up in the heavens. That's a disservice. Because that takes us out of a place of having dominion over that which we are supposed to have dominion in. We were never given dominion over the heavens, so if we are all going to heaven for eternity, we have nothing to have dominion over. It is the earth that we will have dominion over, I believe, in the millennium and beyond. To quote Buzz Lightyear. Just infinity and beyond, yeah. I entertain myself occasionally. Not very well, but occasionally I do. So, we have dominion over this earth. Messianics say, well, we're all waiting for the greater exodus. I'm not speaking against any of my colleagues, but if all you're doing is waiting for the greater exodus to happen so you can start living, you're wasting the days you have today. I've been guilty of that. If you're not living today, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in the heavenly realm. Talk more about that next week. You are called to have dominion over this earth today. You're called to do something of greatness today, not wait until next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. It's today. Most people do not know. One of the questions I'm going to be talking about in March, most people do not know why they are here. So if you don't know why you're here, how can you possibly get it done? If you don't know why you've been put somewhere, you won't know what to do when you're there. We need to be people that know why we're here. We need to have dreams. We need to have vision. What are those dreams and visions about? It's about today. It's about knowing what I need to do today. But how do I find? It says, delight yourself in Yud-He-Vav-He. He will give you the desires of your heart. That means to me that I don't know what, in that word inner man, I don't know what the desire of my inner man is. I have to delight myself in order for me to understand the purpose of who I am and why I am. I must empty myself in order to find myself. I hope you're writing some things down today. I must empty myself in order to find myself. As long as I am filled with myself, I cannot find myself. Though he was in the form of Elohim, he did not regard equality with Elohim something to be possessed by force. But on the contrary, he emptied himself, and that he took on the form of a servant by becoming like human beings are. He emptied himself to become himself. He emptied himself. He was a human. He was Elohim. He was human. I believe that's still a statement for the present. And he emptied himself of his human desires. Understand that Yeshua came to this earth and walked as a human, as Hebrews says, which means he had desires. He has desires to do his own will, and he emptied himself of those desires in order to find his purpose, his reason, his why, the reason why he was placed here. He had to delight in Yud-He-Vav-He in order to find who he was. We have to do the same thing. How do we delight in him? Go to Isaiah 58, it talks about Shabbat. One of the purposes of Shabbat is to delight ourselves in him. I'm running out of time. Why does it say that on Shabbat we are not to even speak of our own interests, but we are to do his pleasure? Why? Because it's set apart as a day of the week that which we have been working for can be set to the side so we can find out who we are. Shabbat is about us becoming a human being, not a human doing. It's getting in touch with the desires of our heart. If we delight in him, if we empty ourselves of him, we will find why that seed made it to that egg. The mystery of life is this: finding out why the seed that became you made it to the egg and made you a winner. If you can find the reason for that, then you'll have no problem in doing nothing out of vanity, out of rivalry. You'll have no problem in emptying yourself and making others better than you as you walk in humility. Walk it out. Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat HaShem, God willing. See you again next week. Until then, be strong. Remember, you began in strength. You made it. You're a winner. You were a winner as you were conceived, so now continue to walk it out. Be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.